All right,
live now
cool.
and talk to some nice folks in the group about this.
Okay,
So
cool.
cool. All right, and we're up and running. So I'll give it a few minutes in case people are filtering in, but just to kick off this video for anyone that's watching the recording of it, I am here with the wonderful Jennifer Vodvarka, codename J.A. Vodvarka, for anybody that is
Yes.
aware of her books or wants to find her on Amazon. And we are going to be talking about specifically something that we don't talk about in this group that often. Usually, we're very focused on kind of like the craft of writing and everything that goes into planning and writing sort of like the book for the first time. But we're
Mhm.
going to talk with Jennifer a little bit about book marketing, what she did specifically to release her books, and also to get them to the point where she's got some pretty cool results. She's got
Yeah.
a couple hundred reviews on these, a lot of page reads, even cool things like people dressing up as your characters. Which, by the way, when I saw that, I was like, "What the? That's incredible."
Let's
That's like
blow it
the
away.
dream. That's the dream right there. So we've got a few people joining us in the comments. If you guys on the way in just want to say hi and let us know if you're excited for today's topic as well. So we're talking to Jennifer today about how she released and how she marketed her first books successfully and how you guys can learn a little bit about how to do that as well. For a lot of you here that are just writing your first drafts and you might be thinking, marketing, ooh, scary. That's not something for me until way off in the future. We're going to show
No.
you, yeah, exactly. We're going to show you guys that this is stuff that you should actually start thinking about now at the beginning of the
Yes.
process, not later. And the earlier you start thinking about it, more helpful that's going to be. Um, Jennifer, do you want to start off with like short intro? Who are you?
Sure.
What do you write about? What are your books?
So, I'm Jennifer Vodvarka, and I write adult fantasy books, specifically in the sapphic space. So
Mhm.
that's kind of the market niche that I'm in. I've got two books out right now, Unworthy and Unbound. They're on Amazon. I got another book coming out in October, and Max helped me with all three of those books, but with his book coaching service through First
Yeah,
Book Coaching. So,
yeah.
just to kind of couch this conversation about marketing, my background is I am a product marketing manager. So I've been doing product marketing for 10 plus years in the high tech industry. So I just want to make sure that folks know I have a little bit of expertise and experience here. I'm
Bit of a head
accredited,
start.
not talking out my bum hole when I talk about marketing.
Yeah, perfect. Cool. And yeah, so just to give a little bit of background, Jennifer and I actually worked together for quite a long time. What was it, like
Mhm.
2, 3 years or something like that?
We started working together in 2020.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe.
and then I think we concluded working together last year when book three was done.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, book three is coming out in 3 months, so I'm rapid releasing the whole series. And
Yeah.
thanks to Max and everybody else at First Book Coaching, everything's hanging together quite nicely, and people seem to really enjoy the books.
I'm glad to hear it. Cool. For anybody, by the way, that wants to kind of see what the books look like, I'm just gonna briefly show the Amazon page so that people know what we're talking about. So if people go to Amazon and then Jennifer, well, it's J.A., isn't it? Actually, I searched for you.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. And then these are Jennifer's books right here.
Mm,
So the by the way, this outcome
great.
is insane. Like for you to get 140 reviews and it's at a solid 5 stars is like unheard of. These are really fantastic results. And also,
Yeah,
guys,
and just like Unbound came out 2 weeks ago and it's got 58 ratings.
yeah,
So like
it's
my
crazy.
ARC readers are freaking fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. So everyone's probably sitting there looking at the screen like, how'd you do that? Should we talk about that a little bit? Before we
You
talk
ask
about the
away.
how, yeah, before we get into the how, I actually want to backtrack a bit and I want to
Mm,
talk about kind of when you were writing your book for the first time,
sure.
you were in a similar position to everyone who's watching this right now. Were you thinking about marketing, genre, audience, or did you kind of stumble into this? Like, where were you at with your first book?
So marketing is kind of baked into who I am, just because I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
So I did have an idea about my target reader audience, and I got it completely wrong because I didn't understand uh the book market at the time.
Yeah.
So I started writing my adult fantasy going, I think that female readers of fantasy really got started into fantasy through the gateway drug of YA fantasy, and it got them interested in strong female characters. So I'm like, a lot of these people are aging out, or they're looking for more adult themes and characters. So I'm going to write adult female centric fantasy for the readers who are aging out of YA.
Right.
I was so uninformed at that point in time because what I didn't realize is that those YA readers were not graduating into, let's say, Gideon the Ninth or other kind of adult fantasy. They were graduating into romantasy or fantasy romance, which is
Yep.
basically romance with the setting and trappings of fantasy, and just were really engaged in with writers such as Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, Fourth Wing, and kind of all that stuff, and with a heavy emphasis towards romance and yes, smut. So that is the current state of the book market when it comes to what's hot right now in fantasy in particular.
Can I would love to see actually just from our audience in the comments. Um, do you guys feel like you know who your books are for? And how did you figure that out? Can you guys actually leave us a comment and let us know? So, do you feel like you know who your reader is? And how do you know? So what I'm getting from you, Jennifer, is that right at the beginning, you
Mhm.
thought you knew who your audience was, but
Yes.
over time you realized that that wasn't actually based on really understanding your audience. It was more based on your assumptions about your audience rather than
Yeah.
actually researching and understanding,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
so in marketing, what you do is you build a target buyer persona, and you can have primary buyer personas, secondary, tertiary, all that kind of stuff. So you basically figure out who you're writing my book for, and that's going to be your target market. My target market I completely misunderstood what the hot thing was in book reading genres right now. So
Right.
I had to but the thing that saved me though was I'm writing fantasy, and fantasy is an evergreen genre. And what I mean by that to folks that are listening is that some genres and subgenres and themes and whatnot are going to wax and wane over time in popularity. And traditional marketing will consistently try to get ahead of that curve and understand what's going to be hot in the next year to 2 years or whatever. And so some things will just like crater. For instance, vampires after Twilight. No agents, nobody wanted that anymore. Now, the indie audience, yes, the indie readers will want vampires forever, but traditional marketing was like, nah. So there's certain so fantasy is really evergreen. It's always going to be there. Some of the subgenres and things that you could go into might necessarily never be big. Um, so you really have to understand your genre and then how you niche down in your genre and what's hot and what's not, to pretty much understand, especially if you want to write to market. And if you're treating writing as a business, you have to understand if you're writing into a dead market space.
Sure. So there's a lot to unpack there. So just to rewind a little bit and go through slowly for people. So you talked about this idea of a kind of like a customer avatar. And in this
Yeah.
case, for anybody that's writing a book, that's basically going to be kind of like a profile of who
Yeah.
your reader is. Like, how old are they? Do they tilt more? Does your audience tilt more male or more female? Is there a certain demographic? All kinds of different things. Just really
Yeah.
understanding who this person is. And what you were saying with things being evergreen. So there are some kinds of books that will just always
Uh-huh.
be popular. And there are other kinds of books that are kind of up and down trends. So it's worth knowing, is my book trying to catch a trend, or is my book going for something classic, something that's always popular? If so, then what do I need to bear in mind? That's kind
Sure.
of what I got from what you said. So some of the comments that people left us, Lisa, you said you're writing for a similar audience as Sarah J. Maas. That's good. That's worth researching.
Uh,
Susan, you said you're questioning right now who your audience is. It's probably a good thing to question. Definitely worth thinking about. For both of you guys, it would be a great exercise to try to figure out that kind of reader profile. Very cool. All right, so we have people thinking about these things already. So okay, so you wrote the first book
sure.
with a particular audience in mind, later realized, okay, that's probably not the thing. So I think the question is, how did you discover the audience that you were writing for? How did that happen?
Well, it was like a kind of like a weird miasma of self-discovery of who I was as a person and as a writer. My books skewed in a specific direction, and I had to let go of wanting to appeal to everybody. So, uh, when I started writing my books, I decided I wanted to have a bisexual main character who's going to skew sapphic, right? And for folks that don't know what that means, it means uh, women, two women together, right? Or people identifying as female together. Um, as I wrote, my books got gayer and gayer. Let's just be honest, because I got gayer and gayer. And then
Yeah.
I started Unworthy November 2019, came out as bisexual in July 2020. So that journey and the journey of how I was writing my books and the type of characters that I was writing went in parallel. So I was like, okay, this is getting more sapphic. The main relationships are sapphic. It is fantasy with romantic subplots. So I'm not writing sapphic romantasy. So I'm writing into an even smaller space. Um, I was like, okay, I can try to market this book to a wide variety of people, including women. And I'm going to be very frank here because this is what other writers in this space are experiencing. I I was like, I could market this to women who read romantasy, but a lot of straight women are not interested for various reasons that I could give you a extensive TED talk on. They will not read FF fantasy. They will not read FF romance. They won't read any of it. They're fine with MF and they're fine with MM. It is what it is. So I realized I have to really find my target audience. The audience that I wrote this book for is not going to be Karen, age 40, has 3 kids, is straight, loves her straight smut, but thinks two women together is icky. I can't market to that person.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
So I had to really define my target market. And once I let go of the appeal to everyone in fantasy, then I was like, okay, I know who my target market is. I can land there and spread out. That's kind of what you want to do is you don't want to scattershot. You want to be very targeted, um, whether it's to a specific market, to its to comparable authors or IP. Because I don't compare to a lot of books that are out there. I compare to TV shows, coincidentally. So you kind of have to
Right.
like land, hit the ground running with that target audience, and then once you get some momentum, then you can start looking at adjacent audiences.
Awesome, awesome. So some of the stuff that I'm gathering from that, for anybody that's worried about this, by the way, you don't have to write like romance or anything like anything erotic to be popular. I think some people have this idea of like, if I don't have something sexy in there, it's not going to sell. This is just Jennifer's niche, right?
Uh,
There are many other niches that are very popular, but this we're just
yeah.
giving you guys an example here, right? Another thing that I gathered from that, so if anyone was at the workshop that I did a couple weeks back, we had a whole day that was dedicated to talking about genre and audience. And one of the things that we said in the workshop was that if your book is written for everyone, then it's
Mhm.
written for nobody in particular, right?
Exactly.
So exactly like what Jennifer just said, you really want to narrow down to a particular niche. And the beautiful thing is, if you're worried, like there are so many books out there on Amazon, how am I ever going to compete? Don't compete with all of them. Find like a little tiny corner where you can
Mhm.
compete, and that's your answer, right? And that I
Yeah.
feel that's kind of what you've done. I mean, you're in a genre that's very buzzing, but it's also niche enough that you knew that you could get a foothold, or at least that's what you
It's
discovered.
it's niche enough that I'm now networking with other authors in this space.
Yeah.
And it's basically a rising tide lifts all boats. I think that I've actually inadvertently written into a market space that I think is expanding and growing in popularity. Because if you see some things in society shifting, Chapel Roan, then like gay women or sapphic women are kind of on the rise right now. We're no longer scared to be ourselves and no longer scared of what society is going to think of us. And there's a lot of popular things in culture going on that are kind of shifting voices out there and shifting popularity. And there's a real hunger for underrepresented voices in books right now. And traditional publishing is always going to check off the diversity box, and they'll have a one of. Oh, well, we already have a lesbian Black author. We don't need additional books because they don't think it sells. Meanwhile, indie authors are making bank. So that's
Yes.
just a little market, a little
This,
snapshot
yes,
for you.
this is true. I also really want to try to dispel the idea that some people have of like, if it doesn't go the traditional route, it's not worthy. I hear this from people all the time, and it's like you have to understand that they're not, yeah. Was that subconscious? But it's
Maybe,
it's that they're not like the be all end all gatekeepers.
yeah.
Indie indie everything everywhere is very quickly on the rise. If you look, for example, just like rewind by 10, 15 years, there's stuff now that is massive on YouTube. It could never have been on TV. But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean it's not good viewing, right? People clearly want it. There's an appetite for it. It's high quality stuff. It just doesn't belong on classic television, right?
Yeah.
And that's not a problem. Everything is moving in a more independent direction. More people listen to Spotify than listen to the traditional radio at this point. So this is a great opportunity for people, and don't diss self-publishing. If you do it well, it's not necessarily lower quality. I mean, if you look at Jennifer's books, do they look like they're lower quality? You have better covers.
No,
Yeah, you have better front covers than a lot of stuff I see in the bookshop. So, um, all right. So we talked about you eventually discovering the audience that you were writing for. Has that changed the way that you write your next books? Because you're still writing more.
so I think these books were kind of a proof of concept that this is a sustainable market. I'm not writing into a dead market because I've seen success, I've seen engagement, and I now am seeing the read throughs, the orders, the financial success. I'm not going to retire tomorrow, right? Just that's realistic, but to be honest, I'm experiencing more success than I honestly thought I was going to. So it's a test bed of is this a dead market space? No, it's not. There are people who are thirsty for these books. So I'm switching from the Black Sea Odyssey to the Black Sea universe. I'm creating the MCU. All of it is going to be in this universe. It's going to be sapphic, and my next book is going to be a freebie that's going to not change what I've been doing. I'm going to apply the same really sound, excellent principles and skills that you gave me in first book coaching to keep telling those stories and
Right.
keep moving forward in this universe because people like the characters, people like the setting, and there's an appetite for this within my market
So
space.
cool. The universe idea is so exciting. I also want to let people know, just being transparent, that we've gotten a lot sharper on this over the years. So when I was working with Jennifer on her first book a few years ago, I wasn't that switched on to marketing stuff, to the whole idea of genre, of audience. This is stuff that we've really sharpened up on over the last couple of years. For people that are just starting to work with us now, there's now way more emphasis on this at the beginning of the course. We really have people nail their genre, nail their reader, and spend time researching. Because if you don't,
Yeah.
you're not setting yourself up to win at this. And I think a lot of people are writing for passion, but I think a lot of you guys watching this, you want to sell books like Jennifer's doing, right?
Yeah.
So this is important stuff to think about. Um, let's get on to the actual marketing process. So without going into too massive detail, because we don't have unlimited time, once the books were done, what did you
Mhm.
do to make them this popular? Because
Right.
just before you get into it, I want to highlight that Jennifer hasn't done a lot of the stuff that you hear other people doing. So Jennifer, I don't think you have like a big Instagram following, right?
I have like 700 people, and I've grown that from March from 300 to 700 right now. TikTok went from 0 to 1,000 easy, but I think that's the
That's
TikTok
TikTok.
thing after 1,000. Like
Yeah.
TikTok, I'm kind of it's a throwaway for me. It's not my social media platform of
Just
choice. Threads and Instagram is where I'm at, and Facebook. Facebook is key.
cool, cool. So just to clarify for people, Jennifer's not a celebrity that had a big following before this.
Well,
She hasn't been on blogs. I think is this like the first podcast you've been on talking about the books? You've been on,
um,
you've done appearances
pretty
and
much.
stuff?
I did a cover reveal with a blog, and I'm talking to you. Most of my marketing campaign activities are around engagement within my market space, both with writers in this space and with readers in this space, and sales strategies, promo stacking, uh, intelligent use of pricing promos to make
Okay,
sure
hold
that.
on, like, let's slow down a second because people don't know
Okay, all right.
people don't know the jargon, right? So what I'm trying to emphasize is that I think a lot of people think that you have to like dance on TikTok to get your book out there. So just just to show people what it actually looks like, what do we kind of do here that like take us from like the ARC reader stuff through to what you
Okay.
did?
So the most important thing that I think people need to do is you have to find you need to define your audience, find them, and talk to them where they live. So Facebook groups are a good strategy for this. But not all of them, but the right ones are the right ones that have a lot of engagement, a lot of people actively talking to one another in them, and then allowing authors to go in there and do promos on specific days. So I was looking around, I'm like, I have to find my audience, right? And everybody had told everything that I had learned said Facebook groups were the way to go. So I found a group called Sapphic Book Lovers. You go in there, you can say, I want a book that has these three very unique attributes, and you'll have 40 responses with these awesome readers giving you recommendations. So I
Cool.
went in there and I began promoting there with artwork, with good copy, with engaging copy, fun copy, and then call to actions, CTA. So a call to action is when you're speaking to your target audience, you want them to do something at the end of that paragraph, that engagement, that post, whatever. Either
Comment
you know,
below, pick up the book.
comment below. You can ask a question of the day, or my CTAs were always go check out my book. It's 99 cents. Go the first big CTA I did was I did a post, had my book cover on it, had all my tropes on it, was very specific to that audience, talked to them in the language that they understood, and at the end was like, I'm looking for ARC readers. And
Just
I
to
didn't.
pause, just to pause. Sorry to interrupt you, Jennifer. But for anyone that's like ARC readers, what's that?
Yeah.
Uh,
So ARC stands for Advanced Reader Copy. And basically what it means is I gave my ebook out to people for free about a month before the book was set to release, with the understanding of two things. I was giving them the book with the hope that they would leave a review on Goodreads or Amazon or any of the other sites. And then the second thing was very important right now, is please do not share this free copy with anybody. Do not pirate it, whatnot. So basically just come on, join my ARC team, read the book for free. And if you like it, leave a review. And I don't track these people. I don't hound them. I don't do any of that bullshit that some authors do. If you read it and leave a review, great. If you don't read it, I don't care. Just, I want that kind of engagement. And on that Sapphic Book Lovers site, which I have to give this caveat, contemporary romance is the thing right now in Sapphic book groups, with romantasy being the second, and then epic fantasy being, third, and then you go down sci-fi, thrillers, all that kind of stuff. So I got over 100 free readers that way. And then I also signed up for Book Sirens and Book Sprout to get additional readers to see what those services was like. So I did mostly free, and then a few paid services.
yeah. So Christiana asked a great question, which is how to market for an introvert. And I think Actually, you actually just gave a great answer to that question, which is
Yeah.
that you don't have to be like, hey, here's me. I'm like doing a little dance. Here's my book,
Yeah.
right? You don't
Yeah.
have to do that stuff. I don't think that you even put your face everywhere necessarily.
I,
Maybe a little bit, but
yeah, a little bit, but like I want to do faster, repeatable content, and I don't want to be shooting videos all the time. I'm an introvert too, but that doesn't mean that I can't speak to other people, that I can't promote my stuff. It's really about being creative and embracing that creativity, and setting a schedule for yourself when it comes to marketing. But a lot of people in the book, a lot of authors are like, well, I'm an introvert, I don't know how to talk to people. Yes, you know how to talk to people. You're a creative person, create creative content. And if that means writing a snappy headline with fun, engaging copy, that's all it has to be. You don't have to be like, have your face on camera all the time.
indeed, yeah. There's also another point that I want to emphasize, which is quality. I don't think that these books would be doing anywhere near as well as they are if the quality wasn't there. So I actually think a lot of the work that we did previously on things like the plot and the
Mm,
characterization and the structure, I
yeah.
think that
Hmm.
the fact that you have 5-star reviews after 100 and something, 150 something people have reviewed it, I think that review score would be a lot lower if you hadn't thought about those things carefully when you were writing the books. And you were a pantser originally. It's a really interesting thing, right?
Yeah, still am a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. But just
I mean,
no
the first
faith.
draft was hot garbage. It's hot garbage, and you and I both know it had the second and third, whatever draft I showed you, it had pacing problems, and you gave me the tools to adjust those things and to really bump up the things that I was doing well, such as character, arcs and stuff like that.
Also, not even just the stuff that we did, but you mentioned having a really good artist, and I think that
Oh
just
God,
makes
yeah.
that makes a world of difference. Like if these books were not this good looking, people wouldn't be clicking on them. I'm certain of that.
No,
Like,
yeah. I
having-
mean, I can't say enough about my artist, Chris Yarbrough. He is amazing. I found him on Reddit, of all places. I found him on Reddit.
right.
And it's like, and he's produced additional character arc. I've got stickers now with his character. Like it's just like amazing stuff.
So we got to wrap this up in a moment, but I think the big takeaways for people is, first of all, if you have no idea who you're writing for right now, if you don't care about that, fine. Like if you're really writing just for yourself, you don't care about having an audience, don't worry about it. If you do want to have an audience, don't try to figure this stuff out after the book is done. Like just start researching and getting to know who is my reader. Like who am I writing this for? I want to have an
Yeah.
audience. So who are they? Where are they? Are they in certain Facebook groups? Are they hanging out on Reddit? Are they on Instagram primarily? Where are my readers? Right? Getting to know them, getting to know what they want, and then starting to put together a little bit of a profile of who it is that this book is for. Another big takeaway was getting clued up on marketing, trying to understand what does work and what doesn't work. Like we said, you don't have to dance on TikTok, but you do have to be able to post in the places where your readers are so that they see your
Yeah.
book in a way that is actually compelling to them. And
Yeah.
you talked a little bit about how to do that. We could probably do another session on that another time, but that's something you have to learn about. And then finally, and I really want to emphasize this, care about quality. Care about quality and do not cut corners. So I see a lot of people that self-publish books, never had any feedback. They just wrote the book and they put it on Amazon.
Hmm.
That was it, right? If you do that, you are publishing a first draft. You're not publishing a finished book. You got to have feedback, work with an editor, go through rounds of test readers, improve. You can't write, this sounds weird, but you can't write the best version of your book by yourself, which is kind of counterintuitive because you're the author.
Yeah.
But you got to have an outside perspective. Otherwise, you're missing a whole load of stuff, right? And the final thing is don't cut corners in the book production either. Like save up, start saving now if you have to. Get a little bit of a budget together. Get somebody to do like a fantastic front cover for you. Make sure it's nicely formatted. Like even the inside of Jennifer's books look awesome. You have the little, what are those icons called? Can I open
I
this? Yeah, you know, like at the beginning of the chapters, like
Yeah, that's a chapter header, and then I have a scene separator artwork as well.
yeah, like even the interior is nicely formatted, you know, so
Yeah.
just I think that's the biggest thing that I wanted to emphasize to people is that if you're going to self-publish, and there's quite a high chance that you will, start to put a budget together. You are going to need it. Don't cut corners. Care about quality. Learn about marketing. I think I was going to summarize it something like that. Amazing. Jennifer, that was exactly 30 minutes, so we timed it really nicely. Guys, thank you for coming along. If you have questions, you're welcome to send me a message. I don't want people to bombard you, but can they send you a message as well?
They can send me a message and I
Within
will
reason.
get to it when I get to it.
Within reason.
Yeah.
If anybody is curious about working with us to do a similar thing to what we did with Jennifer. So when we first started working with Jennifer, she was at a very similar stage to everyone in this group, which is working on your first book. All of this probably feels a bit overwhelming. You don't have a lot of experience with what to do right now. If you would like us to guide you through that process, I'm putting a link in the comments now. It's a call to action, just like Jennifer mentioned earlier, right? Here's my call to action.
Yeah.
Go ahead. If you're serious about this, click on the link, find a time for us to have a brief call. I'll give you a little bit of advice about your situation. The call doesn't cost anything. It's just for us to explore the possibility of working together. I'll give you a little bit of feedback, give you some pointers on what you can do to succeed, and we can take it from there. So if anyone that's curious about this, go ahead, click the link, book a call, and we can help you out. Amazing. All right, Jennifer, thank you so much. And
Thanks,
everyone,
Max.
I'll see you soon. Thank you.
Okay.